So the second aspect of the thriving lifestyle metric is organizational team leadership. So not just is my personal life thriving, but also is my leadership life thriving in such a way that my team is thriving. And so let's break that down in three aspects. The first aspect is live and give Sabbath rest. We believe in Sabbath rest. We believe that God has created us with a need to rest on the seventh day. It's physical, spiritual, emotional, and so on. So I live and give Sabbath rest. And what I mean by that is I personally, as the leader, live that Sabbath rest. I physically observe Sabbath on the weekend. I physically observe a physical rest through vacationing. So many times we think to ourselves, and I've heard people say this too, I can't afford to take a weekend Sabbath day off. I can't afford to take a week-long vacation. And some leaders who've said, I haven't taken a vacation in 10 years because the church can't afford me to be gone. And I always wonder, can the church afford you not to be healthy? Can the church afford you not to take weekend Sabbath rest? Can they afford someone who's drained empty and running on fumes? So if you live that yourself physically, do I have a weekend day where I'm resting? I'm not working, I'm observing and enjoying physical rest, and I'm routinely vacationing every single year, whether it's a long one or a short one, but that's what I'm doing. And that helps us kind of model what it looks like to get away and to enjoy Sabbath rest. And what that also means is that when my team, people that are working with me or for me, when they're away on vacation, when they're taking their Sabbath day, I have made a willful choice to leave them alone. Don't bother them with texts related to the job. Perhaps send them a text to say you're praying for their rest. Perhaps maybe you give them a little bit of money to spend at the coffee shop so they can enjoy their rest even more. But I'm letting them disconnect. I'm letting them decompress. I'm telling them that getting Sabbath rest is not just something that I'm talking about or telling people that they ought to have. I'm letting you disconnect and I'm letting you decompress. Our church leaders in our own church have seen the need to provide Sabbath rest for their church leaders. So the church board budgeted $600 a year for each of our full-time pastors, and the budget expense is something that they believe is worth the $600 to pay now for rest and getaway, and in some cases Sunday getaways above and beyond the vacation. It's worth the $600 to pay now instead of being forced to pay later with a minister who is crashed and burned or who has eventually now you're paying to pick up all the pieces of a life that had run out of gas and now has run into the ditch. The other Sabbath rest worth considering is not just my physical Sabbath rest, but also my identity Sabbath rest, my ministry Sabbath rest. What does that mean? That means that I recognize that the deep inner rest that I need, which is peace with God, acceptance with God, has already been made, and Jesus did that in my behalf. And now, since he's made me right with God, since my acceptance has come through Jesus, since I have been made right with God through the work of Jesus, I'm no longer working for the acceptance of my Heavenly Father. I'm working from it. So all my ministry, goals, vision, effort, and performance, all my identity, who I am and how I'm being perceived, all of that has been settled. I'm in right relationship with God. I no longer have to work myself to the degree in which I'm spending. My lifestyle is no longer thriving. I'm just surviving. How do I do that? Because I don't necessarily care what people think of me. I am more devoted to what God thinks of me. I am not motivated by the duty of the job. I'm motivated by the delight of getting to serve my Father in heaven because that's my Sabbath rest identity. It's my Sabbath rest in my ministry. So the other aspect here that we can consider is to expect and encourage the 3 C's. Expect and encourage the 3 C's in order to help the team experience a thriving lifestyle. So the 3 C's that I'm expecting or the 3 C's that I'm encouraging go like this: conversations. This conversation aspect means that I am willing and able and making time to dig deeper, to connect with my team members, my colleagues and team members, to get under the surface. I am getting them engaged with me through conversations about their life and heart health. These conversations are happening because I'm creating a regular environment, a regular meeting environment where you're building trust, you're building transparency. I'm not just building performances and productivity. When we get together, do we want to perform well? Yes. Do we want to be productive? Of course. Do we want to measure those things? Of course. But there are environments that we can create where we're also building trust and letting people be transparent as it relates to how are they thriving or how are they not thriving? How are they experiencing Sabbath rest? How are they not experiencing Sabbath rest? The next C is coaching. Coaching. What do I mean by coaching? It means that my team is given annual life or executive coaching. And I consider, is this worth adding to the budget? Is coaching something that's so valuable to help my team thrive that I'm willing to add it to the budget, to the salary budget? Be amazed to consider how little adding executive or life coaching would actually be on a full church budget. When you actually look at the cost of that kind of coaching, it would seem like that the benefit far outweighs the cost. And the third C is counseling. There's a subscription service to counseling. Again, something that can be added to the salary budget. There could be a salary budget set aside to make sure that our staff and our team has marriage counseling, individual life counseling, family counseling. And if cost is concerned, consider this. You can do the math. The 3 C's are massively cheaper than the cost of a moral or emotional or physical breakdown. So the third aspect of this particular metric is assess and address life and heart health, not just performance outcomes. Well, what does that mean? We start with this question. Is it okay for my team to successfully get 300 people to Good Friday service, 500 people to the Easter egg hunt, 600 people to Easter service on Easter weekend if the cost of that is essentially this? Every team member has lost their sanity, they've lost their Sabbath rest, and they've lost their own ability to celebrate with their own family in their own home the beauty and joy of the Easter season or the resurrection season. And I have to ask the question, if we get the performance, if we get the production that we want, and it costs us the inner Sabbath rest, sanity, and celebration of our team, we have to ask the question, is this what God has called us to? And is this possibly why I'm having a difficult time leading and I'm having a difficult time cultivating a thriving lifestyle personally and among my team?